How are you today? I have a couple of questions for you today. First question. When you feel someone treated you unfairly, somebody did something you feel absolutely being treated unfairly, what do you find work to calm your nerves down so you're not upset or get disgruntled or something like that about it? What do you find to calm you down to get you become calmer, grounded? Second question. Have you ever heard the expression not for nothing? Not for nothing. And for me, when I felt somebody did something just seemingly absurdly bizarre, and so it feels like they're doing things to me, seemingly, when I could go back, when I was able to take myself back to the remembering that not for nothing. In other words, nothing happened in this universe, in this life, that nothing happened for no reasons. And when something happened that is completely undesirable, and it's because somebody else is doing, or perhaps even the universe seemingly doing things, have you ever felt like maybe perhaps once in a while you feel like the universe or life throws lemons at you for no apparent reason? Sometimes that might feel life feels that way. And so for me to remember that there is not that in this life everything happen, and everything happen for eventually for greater good, as Napoleon Hill says in his book. He says that every adversity, every failure, every disadvantage, every heartbreak carries the seed of greater good in it. And yes, it is up to us to hang on to find that seed and grow that seed. And at the same time, it means that whatever happened in there, even if it seemingly somebody did something to you that is so unfair, perhaps somebody just with me this past week, somebody decided to dump a large electronics that's not dumpable. So in other words, the trash collector would not collect this large electronic, and to put that on my trash bin such that now I got to deal with it. I was like, what am I gonna do? And so somebody did that for some strange absurd reasons, and actually as I shared yesterday, at the beginning, it bothered me. It bothered me for more than a day. And I tried to use the perception skill on, like, okay, let's see if I can see this in this person perceptions and what have you. And I'm like, yeah, well, no. Whatever perception skill that I have, that I taught and I typically utilize, it just doesn't work. I don't know what in my mind. I don't know what possessed this person, or actually, I use a less gentle word than person, but I was like, whatever possessed this. So, and then, but then I decided, what do you do in that moment? And I decided, when I realized that I have allowed myself to be bothered by this, as I shared yesterday, I choose and I decided that I'm not going to allow this event, whatever random as it seems to be, to drag my energy and my vibrations down. That I am staying at the energy and the vibration of joy and ease and peace and abundance. And when I did that, the next thing that come to my mind actually is a skill that I have learned quite a lot of time back, and that is not for nothing. When you have things going on in your life, and perhaps it's somebody seemingly did something like dumping things for no reason, or perhaps it is something in the vicinity of someone indirectly stole money from me a few years back. In other words, I pay a substantial sum for a service, and this person did not deliver the service. And as I asked several times and continue to wonder what's going to happen, the person actually started to get upset and complain. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Not only you don't deliver the service, now you get upset at me. Hello. And it was very clear that I would not receive that service. And in the strangest way, and that one also at the moment, it actually got me fuming back then for a longer time. Back in the day, I was less skillful a few years back. I was fuming for quite a few days. And then I said suddenly, you know what? My mentor said, not for nothing. In other words, when you lose something, when somebody took something from you, when somebody did something that's very unfair to you, when you seemingly randomly lost something or life something happened in such a way that whatever that you lost, that whatever that's stolen goes into the bank of the universe and gain interest. And for me, when things gain interest, it's gonna gain interest tenfold. So in other words, if somebody stole $100 out of you, and it just you're like, okay, that's absolutely lost, and I absolutely could not gain of that, could not regain that, and this and that, and it is truly not of your fault. Then it goes in the bank of the universe, and then it's going to come back $1,000 for you. Isn't that kind of cool? And once you get into that kind of energy, you're like, okay, well, I'm waiting for that $1,000, and I'm grateful for this $1,000. And so with this, with the trust, with the electronic that being dumb, I was like, okay, not for nothing. So I'm not sure what this whole thing all about, but I know that every adversity has greater good in it, and right now I absolutely could not see what what the greater good, but it's not for nothing. So something out of this, Ken Kai says that everything and everyone has the opportunity to be our teacher, for that we have an opportunity to learn from everything. And so I said, okay, well, apparently there is a learning that I can learn from here, and also to remember that things are always gaining interest, because at that moment what I was looking at is this large electronic. Now it's on my driveway, and for me to dispose this large electronic, it would have cost me money. And I said, okay, well, if I were to put money for this, it's going to come back in me tenfold, which is very true actually with my experience a few years back when I paid for this service and the service was not delivered. That investment, even though it doesn't come back in that piece, that investment actually come back in return in multiplicity, in a form of magnificent opportunity that I would not even I could not imagine at the time. And it was like one of those that, wow, looking back a few years later, that I am glad, I'm very grateful that the person did not deliver the service, because it's actually come back in multiple different way that allow me such much more opportunity had that service compared to if that service been delivered. And so I said, okay, well, not for nothing, so I'm going to gain interest out of this, and I'm gaining some lesson and some learning out of this as well. And then of course, naturally, I feel grateful for gaining interest, and that I'm gaining some good out of this. I don't know what yet, but I'm gaining some good, so I'm feeling grateful about that. And then also, since there's also a learning experience, is that okay? What's the learning? Is there a message in here? And for me, that message from that large electronic, because I could not have like this thing just sitting around, and I could not even move it. And so it's like, okay, I need to call somebody to dump this. And then I start looking around, and I said, well, I have been saying that I want to do this and I want to do that. I want to clear up this. And I feel sometimes like life nudging me to clear certain thing out of my life. But I have been procrastinating. I have not been listening, so to say. And so I said, you know what? This is apparently is a little bit stronger nudge saying that, hey, you got to call the special electronic and such. We call them the junk collector, that we pay. Then you might as well also clear out this other thing and that other thing and that other thing and that other thing, that life kind of said, hey, get rid of these things that you no longer need, because when you clear things up, when you clear your junk out, you clear up your energy, you start refresh. And so I said, okay, well, apparently it's time for me to this is a good reason for me to also clear up all these other things. And so that is the next step that I step into. Once I decided that regardless of how unfair it seems to be, that this is somebody dumping some big old electronic junk on my trash and now on my driveway, that I was like, and then I was also grateful. I was grateful that even though I was not able to actually move this thing around comfortably and safely on my own, I saw it before the trash collector came in that day, which is very unusual. I don't usually go to the back, but I saw it, and because I saw this thing, it I was actually, with using different skill and technique, I was able to throw that thing off my dumpster, such that at least the trash was still collected, and then this thing was just left on the side, instead of me having still a whole week of trash not collected because this electronic dump was on it. And so I was grateful that I see that, and I was grateful that I was resourceful enough to move it off my trash bin, such that the trash was empty the way it typically does, and just this thing now. And so I was grateful for that, as well as multiple other things, the kind of like the divine timing for me to see it. And so what about you? Share in the comment below what some tips that you might be able to share, that I might be able to benefit in the future, while you might benefit from the not for nothing, knowing that everything that happened in your life, if it is seemingly like a random loss, that it is going to the bank of the universe and gaining tenfold in interest, right? And so please share in the comment below what do you use? What skill do you use to help you in that matter? Or perhaps there is something in your life that you has been bothered by, like, why is this thing happening? This is not right, this is not fair, things like that. And now that you know that it is not for nothing, that it is something that's not happening to you, but perhaps it's either happening for you or it's happening with you to allow you to invest in the bank of the universe. How do you feel about that now that you know that? And what is it that perhaps you can reframe, such that, okay, this thing is not so bad because it's actually gaining interest for me? And whether it is an act of somebody, or it is or something else is from life itself. And feel welcome to share your feedback in the comment below, as well as if you feel like sharing this video. And this is Bridget with Joyful Riches Beyond Grief. I see that as you practice this, you have more ease, more peace, more joy, and also as things gaining interest for you, you have more abundance that flow with a lot more ease and a lot more fun, allowing you to create a beautiful, wonderful, thriving life one day at a time, and a beautiful, magnificent, thriving life at a whole. And I love you very, very much, and I look forward to see you again very, very